You were doing so good,
I
by
was,
the
and
way.
then I was like-
You're gonna rock it. Leave the dogs alone.
That's in the speech. How can a community give their youth the best possible chance at developing competence, relatedness, and autonomy? And why are these three things so important? Well, these three things are psychological needs, and when combined, they can be a powerful catalyst for personal growth and achievement. Now, many ways exist inside communities across the globe that work on these three needs individually and separately, but many fewer ways exist which package them all together in one activity. Now, I want to specifically focus on how Bentonville and some of the surrounding areas have done one thing in particular that has allowed their youth community and their overall community to have these three psychological needs abundant and blossoming. So I moved to Northwest Arkansas right after I got out of high school, and I lived there for about a year, and I lived 20 minutes away from Bentonville, and I worked on a trail maintenance crew. And so I got to see how the trail maintenance and those workers, that community, how they worked, and then the riding community, and how they intermeshed together and interacted with the surrounding area. Now, this leads me to my first point, which is, why are these psychological needs so important? Well, they're just that, psychological needs. The University of Rochester Medical Center says that the theory of determination takes these three psychological needs and forms motivation. So we can all live with diminished levels of each of these and with all of them, but it's never pretty. Take, for example, the Holocaust. When millions of Jews were imprisoned and killed, they lost their jobs, so they no longer felt like they were good at something, which is losing your competence. And they lost their relatedness to much of their communities and to their country as a whole. And they also lost their autonomy by being imprisoned. They no longer had free will and the ability to do things based on their own decisions. So I want to clarify one thing. I believe these three psychological needs are also skills because, like many other things, they can be practiced and developed with time. So my second point, we're going to look at what exactly did Bentonville and the surrounding areas do to help these three psychological needs and skills grow. Tom and Stuart Walton are two brothers, and they love mountain biking. They had a hand in creating one of the first trail systems in Bentonville called Slaughter Pin. And they have been investing in bike infrastructure. That's what they did. They build trails. They build all kinds of trails. They build mountain bike trails, downhill trails, cross-country trails. They build paved trails, they build jump trails, and they even build paved jump trails. So another project they have is the Greenway, which runs all the way from downtown Bentonville to downtown Rogers and then to Springdale. Now, all this infrastructure has brought like-minded people together, which leads me to my third point. How did it do it? By exactly that, bringing like-minded people together. Now, many of them aren't completely like-minded, but they do have one thing in common, and that's riding their bike and getting outside and exercising their physical body and their mental. So it just comes down to, especially in the youth community, people riding their bikes. And I see kids in and around Bentonville in groups of 2 to sometimes even 10 riding with their buddies and picking what trails they want to ride and encouraging each other and working on these three psychological needs and skills. And all the while, they're just building these building blocks that will help them go further and achieve great things in life. So, to sum this up, Bentonville and the surrounding communities have invested in bike infrastructure and built thousands of trails that allow people to go out and get exercise. And this has brought people together with one thing in common and has allowed competence, relatedness, and autonomy to bloom and thrive. Thank you.
Good job.
I didn't time it, but I'm pretty sure that was